John Cioffi is a very bright young man, and through his achievements towards the end of the last century, he mirrored the outstanding work of Guglielmo Marconi a century earlier. So like Marconi, he took a still immature scientific theory and brought it to fruition in a product that has benefited all of humankind.
I've been involved in communications for a long time and have always had interest in copper wire. The perception has always been that one needs a fiber to go to higher speeds, but the actual piece of copper itself has a very high bandwidth.
I'm Tom Starr, and I've been working on DSL technology for ages. And in this work, I've worked with John Cioffi in the development of the ADSL and VDSL standards. And also, we have been co-authors on 2 books on DSL technology.
As a researcher and professor at Stanford University, John perfected some concepts based on a rather abstract theory called information theory, which is not well understood by many communication engineers. And through it, he developed a product that outperformed all other competitors and thus became the standard of the industry.
There's a whole group of us, including some of the former Marconi fellows, who look at trying to transmit through limited bandwidth media. And the phone line is probably the most challenging. There are a billion phone lines around the world, roughly, and no 2 of them are the same. And that was the key challenge in trying to get at DSL, to try to get high speeds so that video or high-speed internet or any other high-speed broadband applications would traverse those phone lines, is to understand those differences.
He was the source of several of the big ideas that made DSL the success that we see globally today.
The fact that John Cioffi was a founder of Amati is an important element in the celebration of his innovation, because not only did he invent something, but also he saw to it that it was brought into the world.
I've been told from the beginning that I was wasting my time, that they were going to replace every copper twisted pair in the world by a fiber. The original estimate was it would be done in '89, and then someone told me at a company that has been one of my biggest supporters over the last many years, SBC, someone there at Pac Bell, which is absorbed at SBC, told me in 1991 that it was in the 5-year plan. I'm wasting my time on DSL. They will never ever deploy a single line of DSL at SBC because they're going to put fiber to everybody's house. So I'm still waiting. It's 16 years later on that, and they now have 7 million customers from whom they're happily collecting revenues.
One of the things that sets John aside is that his prominence in both the academic world as well as the business world. And he has, 1 foot in the business field, and then he's also well respected in the academic area. And this is so rare, and I think I know why it's rare. It just is too demanding, for most people to be prominent in both fields. But I think I know John's secret for success, and that is that simply he has twice the cognitive bandwidth of most people and 3 times the stamina.
The specific technique, DMT, is essentially, one could think of it as your AM radio that you would tune to different stations. There are different frequencies, different channels on the AM radio. So if you're on your radio dial and you heard kind of a noisy station coming through, there's less information, and you'd be less likely to rely on that particular whatever's being said if you can't hear it very well. So you can think of DMT and the underlying technology is called bit swapping as kind of the inverse of Robin Hood. Robin Hood, of course, everybody knows him. He robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. If we think of those radio stations as being rich or poor, actually what we want to do is rob from the poor and give to the rich.
In addition to the ideas he generated, he also coached others who stimulated more ideas that have gone into DSL.
I'm one of those people who's never really completely content in one space or the other space, so I almost have to do it to keep my sanity.
We actually spend a tremendous amount of work doing very detailed level of simulation work prior to actually putting the prototype together.
So a person who's had profound influence on me throughout my career is Professor Tom Kyleth at Stanford University, who was my PhD thesis advisor, has nominated me for just about every award I've ever received, and has been an investor in companies I've been involved with. I, of course, continue to work with about a dozen PhD students at Stanford, some of whom are working in the DSL kind of newest idea area. I've also, just a few years ago, started companies called Adaptive Spectrum and Signal Alignment, but the acronym for it spells out my wife's name, Asya. And we have been looking at a number of methods, essentially software methods that can be used by phone companies to significantly increase the speeds and reduce the costs associated with DSL.
So with ASEA, we've worked with them to create a dynamic spectrum management solution, and what that will do is allow us to optimize our deployment for our Project Lightspeed and our broadband to ensure that we have high bandwidth delivery to each of our end users and to eliminate impairments.
Some people say that the Marconi Award is the Nobel Prize for telecommunications. And in a sense, if you look at the people that have, and the contributions of the people that have won the prize, there is some truth to that.
Worked for a couple of years at IBM, and I got to know Gottfried Ungerbach fairly well through those years. And of course, I've continued to know him over the years, and have always enjoyed our discussions together. Dave Forney I've known for probably 20 years, and we've collaborated on a variety of different projects, and always enjoyed working with him. I've known Paul Baran for a few years. Marty Hellman, who the encryption has been an investor in just about every company I've been in. He's made a ton of money, haven't you, Marty? On those investments. I hope the next one works too. Bob Lucky's one of the fellows. I've known him for years and worked with him on a few projects. I was at Bell Labs for a while and was in the group that he basically started.
You know, he's a great coach, and like a good coach, he always has a plan.
Never ever give up unless you're convinced you're wrong.